Hey everyone, this is Lisa from TRW. So in this video, I'm going to give you an overview of the page panel in Silhouette Studio. Now, a lot of times the page panel we just kind of gloss over and don't think much of it. Now, there are a bunch of different uses of the page panel and different ways that we can use it to our advantage. And also, the page panel does have some critical areas that will affect how we load in our material and how it cuts. So let's go ahead and open up our page panel. So this is going to be in the top right corner. It's going to be on the little toolbar on the right side of our screen. So we're going to go ahead and click on that. And you can see that there are 3 tabs in here. So we're in our first one, there's our second one, and our third one. And I'm going to go back. So the first one is our page setup. So when we look in here, we have our size. So right now it says a custom size for me. So basically, this is how big our area is. A lot of times when I do this, I set this to the size of the vinyl that I'm using. So let's say I'm cutting a design and I have a 12 inch by 15 inch piece of Easy Weed vinyl. So I can go over here, set my width to 12 inches, set my height to 15. And you can see we have it set that way. Now you can see you can adjust your orientation. You can do portrait or landscape. Basically, it's however it's being loaded into your machine. So this arrow up here will tell you which way it goes into your machine. Now, cutting mat. Now, this is the most important part of the page panel more than anything. So you can cut without a mat using your Silhouette Cameo, and I encourage it. I love doing that. Now, with the Cameo 3, it doesn't have the option to load media or load mat. What that means is that you have to say in the software, hey, I'm using a cutting mat, or no, I'm not. Now, the cutting mat has an extra about 1 inch of space. So if you have a cutting mat and you're saying that you're not using it, then your machine's only going to load in a little bit and then start cutting actually on the mat because it thinks that that cutting mat is your material. So you can see right here we have cutting mat. We're going to set it over, and let's say we're using a Cameo mat. So we have that all set. Now the 2 options down here are show print border and cut border. Print border is if you're working with your printer. I don't use it all that much, but right here your cut border is important to note. Your cut border is this red line around your design. Now you may notice that my red line doesn't go all the way to the bottom. Now that's one thing to keep in mind. If you are cutting a design that is longer than 1 foot, make sure you tell your software that you are not using a cutting mat or you are using a 24-inch cutting mat if you're cutting less than 2 feet. Because even though our design may fit all the way onto this area, because I have told the software I'm using a cutting mat, my design will stop right where this red line is. So this red line is your safe cutting space. Keep that in mind when you're working. And so the next 2 panels are pretty easy to work with. Your page setup, your options are just things to help make designing easier. You can click this button, you can show your grid, you can snap to grid, you show guides. So guides would be these bars here. So if you look over in your ruler at the top, I can click in my ruler, bring down a line, and that's a guide. So I can show that, and you can also snap to guides. Basically, if you have an object and you're trying to get it close to the guide, it'll snap on. Now you can turn on or off your ruler. And then you can also use crosshairs. So you can see these little crosshairs show up with my mouse. Not my favorite thing to use, but it works out. And then this last panel are registration marks. So this is if you are doing a print and cut job. So you need to be hooked up to your printer. And basically these are marks that are going to be printed onto your material. So one important thing to note, if you're using a normal household printer, you need to set your page size to 8.5 by 11. So I'm back in the first panel, we'll do 8.5. And then, and then we'll go to this next one and do 11. So now you can see I have my page. We'll bring this over and actually put it on our page. And then when we go to our registration marks, let's go ahead and turn them on. So unless you have the very original Cameo, you're going to use type 1. And you can see we have these squares and this little line that show up here. Now that's going to be something that prints on your paper. So you want to make sure your design doesn't get too close to them, and you want it to try to stay outside of this little crosshatch pattern here. So that is used for print and cut. We will have videos on how to use that later, but this is just a quick overview of the page panel. So if you have any questions, go ahead and comment below. If you want to see more Silhouette videos, don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel, and don't forget to press the bell to make sure you're notified of all of our videos.